Three, two. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today for our Fireside Chat. Today we have Mr. Mak Kum Shi, a prolific writer. He's also a speaker and a trainer who's spent many years in the real estate industry and also other industries around, having a very wide range of experiences to share with people as well. Now, one of the things that have been very attractive about Mr. Mak Kum Shi's insights is that his insights are not just based on what other people are saying, what the popular teachers are saying, what the popular quotes are being said. He actually goes one step further by sharing what you, as a real estate buyer or someone intending to get onto the real estate ladder, needs to know. Without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Mak Kum Shi. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Hi, Ernest. I'm doing good. Hi, everyone.
Mark, for the benefit of everybody listening today, can you share with us a little bit about your background and what exposure do you have to real estate, or what led you towards real estate?
Okay, I think I'll start with what led me to real estate. First, before I share a little bit more of what I've accomplished over my lifetime. I started to be in real estate when I was searching for an opportunity to write. So I just stumbled into the real estate industry, and when I was applying for a position, my editor asked me this question: "What do you want to write about real estate? It's boring." Then I was contemplating about the question before I responded. First of all, I think there is like writers are like musicians, is craftsmen. It is like when you have a dead piece of wood, a craftsman can bring a dead piece of wood to life. Okay, that's a similar thing to that's the same for writers. Writers are what we do is we bring things to life through the things that we write. Okay, and if you are talking about property is not just something that is natural out there. It is something that is very important and relevant to us. It's about everybody needs a home. Everybody needs a place to stay, a place to work, a place to study. So real estate is something that is relevant to our lives, and therefore it is our role as people who cover on real estate to be able to bring real estate to life, to something that is relevant and useful to us. So that is our role. So over the years, I've been writing on real estate for the past 10 years. I've accomplished a lot of things over this period of time. Of like, for example, I went up to the position of senior journalist for Newsweek Times for the real estate section, and then of course I was also senior journalist for Malaysia SME. So Malaysia SME is about business, about entrepreneurship, and the thing that I learned from there was the opportunity to write on real estate beyond your conventional real estate journalism, which is just about homes. In Malaysia SME, what I did was handling the property desk, writing about commercial properties, about industrial properties, commercial, for hospitality, for retail. So it's across the board. And then, of course, I eventually rose up to become the chief editor for Property Insight, writing on property on an investment perspective, in addition to the standard bread and butter type of news on property. And then after that, to Star Property, where I was the head of content. And in Star Property, my experience was it went even further, which was more than just about writing, but rather to produce content on a wide for multiple platforms such as social media, digital media, video, radio, across the board. But aside from property journalism, being at the forefront of property journalism in Malaysia and internationally, I've also have personal interest in real estate. What drove me to actually write was also to explore other fields of real estate, for example, architecture and interior design, where I also written for publications as well, covering these kind of areas. Then let's see what else is there. Yes, I've also have studied also about geomancy sciences, about feng shui as an example. And of course, I also have my own homes and my own properties. Some for investment, some for own use as well. So That is part of that is my background in respect of real estate.
Thanks, Mark. Quite concise. Not just do you speak from a theoretical point of view, you also are a practitioner for property acquisition and real estate by being a homeowner and also an investor, as you said just now. What about your speaking engagement in terms of where you've used the knowledge that you have and sharing it from the platform? Do you speak a lot to first-time home buyers? Do you speak a lot to investors? Is there specific crowds that you look at when you speak? Because it will lead into the next question that we want to delve for today, which is, should your first home be your dream home? Can you share with us about the platforms that you use to speak and reach out and engage the consumers, or reach out to engage the people who are listening to you?
I think that it depends on the occasion, because I've already spoken to people of various backgrounds. Like for example, if you're talking about property investors, I would share with them in respect of things like analysis of a region, let's say the Klang Valley. Okay, I share with them in respect of what is the nature, the characteristics of those neighborhoods. That's an example. Another example, well, of course, limited to just property investors, buyers. I've also shared together with real estate professionals, like those in real estate agencies. So that's what I've done in the past. If you're talking about the property events, the road shows in major places like shopping malls, I've shared together with prospective home buyers. Um, so that's something that I've done in the past. Of course, sometimes I also do it on a CSL perspective, which is in the past I would used to also teach in high school. So what I do is I educate school teachers in respect of how they can buy their own first home. The reason why I do this is because I have high regard for educators, and educators they contribute a lot to society. They make a difference to society, help build a bright future for children, for high school students. But the thing is this: just as they try to build a bright future for other people, what about building a bright future for themselves? If teachers can't take care of themselves, how can they really take care of other people? So it's my way of giving back to society as well. As an educator, I don't only share about real estate, I also teach about English and communications. So I know what is it like to see my fellow peers, help them to build a bright future for them.
Let's delve into the question with regard to what we are going to be talking about today. Should your first home be your dream home? Can I just ask you, in your research or in your experience, when you speak to a lot of people to try and get your material and information, and from both buyers and sellers, the developers per se, what is your opinion? Should the first-time home buyer be looking at their dream home to purchase as their first home?
In my opinion, I would say they shouldn't, because there seems to be a pattern here, whereby it's like to buy the best home that you can buy right from the beginning, based on your financial limits. But I think that it's worthwhile to take it as treat it like the first home that you buy should be like a stepping stone. Like for example, maybe let's say you can afford to buy a property at $1 million. But the thing is, let's look at the economic situation at this point of time. But of course, it's applicable in the future as well. Let's say your financial capability together with your partner could be $1 million. But the thing is, um, sometimes we need to be a little bit more prudent in respect of our financial situation. We need to be able to prepare for contingencies that can happen anytime. So like maybe it is like before I decide about how much I could afford to pay for my property, I need to look at my entire financial situation on a holistic perspective. Like for example, before I start buying a property, what is my financial standing? How much am I earning? And then, have I protected myself adequately financially? Do I have enough savings? Do I have enough to protect myself for emergencies in the future? Because if we stretch ourselves financially with the purchase of a dream home up to the maximum that we can afford, what happens if something goes wrong? Okay, so the thing is, like for example, if you're talking about being financially prudent, my question is this: Do you have do you have protection for yourself for emergencies? Do you have a medical plan? Do you have a medical card? Do you have a life plan to protect yourself in the event that something goes wrong? So this is about protection first. Then the next stage for another thing for protection would be, if let's say we run out of job, we lose a job, which is happening quite seriously at this point of time. Uh, the thing is, do you have enough savings? Okay, do you have enough savings for the next 6 months, 1 year? Okay, as a contingency to cover your expenses. So this will be what I will do to protect myself, and I will urge other people to protect themselves. I would advise people to also have seek a financial planner. Okay, to evaluate your own financial status so that they can advise you better on what you can do to protect yourself. Then from there on, once you already have your own foundation, then only then you is will be appropriate to know how much you can pay for your own property. Of course, aside from property, how much is what are your financial commitments? Do you have a car loan? Do you have a study loan? All this is going to this will be monthly commitments which will eat up into your to how much you can how much resources you have in order to afford your own home. So there is a limit to what you can afford, and therefore it will be difficult to reach your own dream home with this kind of commitments. That's my take. So once you already have your own first home, something that you can safely and comfortably afford, then as you pay for your property, let it appreciate in value through inflation, through the appreciation of the property in value, and then eventually you can once your financial standing is better, you can eventually move towards your own dream home.
Mark, on the same token, I just wanted to share with you that if you had purchased your property maybe 5, 6 years ago as your first property, nobody would have envisaged this particular economic situation to actually happen right now. But
Yes.
5 years ago, things were a little bit more rosy, and you would have thought, okay, my job is pretty stable. I do have a stable income. My career is on a upward trajectory. I'm going to make manager. I'm going to make senior executive. My finances are pretty stable. So let's make a decision to buy a property 5 years ago. I mean, having heard what you said with regard to making sure that you have enough protection and whatnot, nobody could see the future or can see the future. But does that mean that nobody should take the plunge and buy a property regardless? And second, the lead up question to that is this the bad time to buy a property, your first property,
Okay.
if you have a capability to do so?
Okay, I managed to really capture your second part, which is this a good time to buy property or not? Okay, but can you repeat again the first one?
The first part is that 5 years ago, we would not have thought 5 years later the COVID situation would come
Yes.
about.
Mhm.
So 5 years ago, things could have looked hunky-dory, career upward trajectory, finances relatively stable, property prices were at that time, whatever that realistic number was at 5 years ago, and everybody says it's just going to continue going up. And so therefore we'll say, okay, I will take the plunge and buy it. But if they didn't adhere to making sure that they have enough protection, making sure that they have enough backup money just in case, would that not also be a situation sometime in the future? Could COVID-19 become COVID-20, COVID-21?
Okay. The thing is this. I think that when you're talking about home ownership, uh, it is it is a necessity for all of us. Okay. Homes, education, that sort of thing. These are two very important things that we need in our lives in order to feel safe, to be able to feel secure. So there is no there is if you're talking about home ownership, there is no such thing as the ideal time to buy a property in respect of the state of the property market. Okay, because you are not buying a home for the sake of investment. Okay, even though a home ownership is an investment, but it is you are using it as a place to stay. Okay, so it's really about addressing our needs. So it is not so when you are in a position where you decide that you want to own a property, and before that you are already renting, you are already spending money in order to have your own accommodation that you are already renting. instead of paying for rental, you can actually own your own home. So you have to take into consideration what your current expenses first before you make the plunge. See, so that there is more of a opportunity cost in this respect. Okay. But the thing is this is like uh, the key message here is that don't try to buy something that stretches your financial limit. Give yourself some room, okay? Because you do not just want to pay for your property and your financial commitments like study loans and car loans. You want to be able to set aside some cash in order to be able to invest, okay? Invest in other financial instruments. So when you are able to do that, you are able to build a buffer for yourself. That's where it can benefit you in the long run. That's my take. Okay. So that is the first part. Now the second thing you were talking about is about the current situation, the current economic situation about the pandemic. This is my analysis first in respect of whether it's attractive or not to buy a property. At this point of time, there are a lot of foreclosures happening at this point of time because people they have been losing jobs, and because they have financial commitments, that the chances are foreclosures are taking place because they are forced in this situation. So that's one thing. Then the second thing would be, I think that we can, I could safely say that compared to the past downturns like maybe 1997 or 2008, this is definitely the worst downturn that I've ever seen compared to other economic situations. So my feel is that the way I see it is that a lot of industries already affected. Okay, we are talking about tourism, about retail, and even offices for the matter. They are all being affected left, right, and center. But if you are looking at the short term, I think that the worst is somewhat behind us. Okay, because it's like if you're talking about from March over to June, that was a time when we had very serious lockdowns in many parts of the world. Okay, and therefore you are talking about a serious drop in economic activity in many parts of the world. But I think that the worst case scenario is already behind us. We are better prepared now. Okay, we still haven't found a vaccine yet. We still need a vaccine in order to be able to restore a lot of things like, for example, air travel, tourism, hospitality, the sort of thing, and even retail for people to be able to go outdoors. But I think that we are better prepared now compared to the past few months. Okay, so I think that we are on the stage of recovery. The things are getting better. We are the governments all around the world, they know how to control the situation in a better way. I'm not saying that there is not going to be a lockdown, that there is nothing to be worried about. We have every reason to be worried of, because this pandemic it takes lives, it has an economic toll on. But I think that we have better control compared to the past few months. So compared to the middle of the year, I see that we are up on a recovery stage, and I think that it's also is evident, stated by economists, by various reputable institutions like the World Bank or International Monetary Fund, that we are on the stage of recovery. So for this year, let's use Malaysia example. We definitely are going to have our national economy definitely is going to be shrinking. Okay, it's going to be negative, but next year is expected to be better. And that is because if you look at the whole situation in general, it's like the worst that has happened, where we are serious lockdown in order to control the situation, the pandemic, the virus, the spread of the virus. I think we are having a better control compared to the past.
Having said that, Nomak, because of the situation where everybody had to start working from home and the digital economy having a big shot in the arm to take it, literally make it fly, everybody's talking about going digital, going digital, going digital. Do you think that the nature of jobs will change and therefore stability of income will change? And how will that impact the purchase of properties, whereby lenders only lend to people who have stable incomes? What happens to Gen Ys and the millennial generations when they want to come and buy properties, and the banks basically say, show me your 3 months pay slip that shows stable income, when a lot of people are turning towards part-time gigs, gig economy, or even outsourced work? What do you think?
Okay, I caught the first part and the third part, which is you're talking about with this pandemic, how does it affect jobs? Second is how the third thing will be how does it affect properties? I missed the second part.
The second part is that Gen Ys and also the millennial generations may not necessarily see work the same way as previous generations may have seen them, whereby it's a 9 to 5 stable 30-year career. They may be looking at short-term gigs or maybe even freelancing as a way to make their living. And how will that impact the loan ability for them to buy even their first properties, let alone their dream properties?
Interesting. Okay, here's my thing. I think that before the pandemic already, there was already an effort to, in order to be able to go digital, to go into the gig economy. A lot of things that have been moving forward, but because of the pandemic, okay, yes, accelerated the need to be able to go digital, to be more efficient, that sort of thing. So the nature of jobs has changed. Okay, a lot of the old jobs that requires manual labor is already being reduced. So therefore, traditional jobs as well as traditional businesses, they're all being affected. Okay, negatively. That's the way I see where jobs are concerned. So you're talking about work. The thing is, the way work is going to have to be done is changed. As you say, the gig economy, but I think that there are other new trends that are emerging. You are talking about mobility. You're talking about artificial intelligence. You're talking about big data analytics. All these kind of things are. Well, what do this means? Is like you have a lot of information data out there, and it's going to be customized to each individual to achieve whereby you can do specific things to address the interests of of different individuals. That's the power of big data analytics. So you can also do with artificial intelligence. Is that things can be done through should I say computer generation. Okay, so it's like maybe an essay, a story can be done artificially as well. So that is the power of artificial intelligence compared to just the way people do things manually on their own. So I think that this is the way of the future, which is we have to it's no longer just about talking about getting conventional skills like maybe accounting or finance or even communications. We must also have digital skills in order to be able to change with the times. So, like for example, for myself, is like I've been a communication practitioner for the past 20 years. I've been writing about property for the past 10 years. But the thing is, and even teaching also, I've been teaching for many years as well. But I also have seen that it's important to have digital skills to be able to do things like teleconferencing, to be able to do digital marketing, that's something to be able to reach out to my audience. So it's about being a digital teacher to become a digital marketer. The sort of thing is more than just teaching or marketing. You have to add in the word digital. See, so it's about having to update our skills digitally. Even the standard things like, for example, to use word processors, spreadsheets, presentation slides, that sort of thing. It's really about upgrading our skills so that we can be more productive, so that we can achieve more things. But the good thing about so it may sound as if it's daunting, it's challenging. But I think this is a time of opportunity right now. Okay, it's a time of opportunity whereby even the sole proprietor, the small entrepreneur, they have access to a lot of powerful tools that used to be available to big corporations. So the what I say the opportunity is really wide. The opportunities are wide. Okay, we can do anything that we want, that we desire, as long as we have the education, we have the knowledge. So nothing. So I just talk about work. I just talk about jobs. These are all changing, and therefore, if you are able to grasp these opportunities and to grow and to prosper, I would say that um, the ability will be there for people to be able to buy their own homes as long as you are able to earn, you are able to build your own income, even though the environment has changed. But if you can change with the environment, then I would say that you'll be able to get this kind of you will be able to build your own opportunity, take advantage of the opportunities that are out there in the market and build your own wealth. From there, from there on, therefore, it is still possible to buy your own properties. But that said, if you're talking about properties, the landscape of the property market has changed. The sort of thing, people need less office space. People are not going to shopping malls as during pandemic situations. The sort of thing when is a danger to health. So, or maybe even this changed the way co-working space is being used. In the past, it saves money, but do you feel safe if there is if it's a place that is used by other people and when there's a health issue? And we're talking about office space for the matter, you need to have enough adequate space to ensure that the cross infection doesn't happen. So the way that we look at space, the way we look at real estate, it has changed. But if you're looking at residential homes, I say not much has changed in respect of the utilization of space. But technology definitely is going to be coming into play. So I would say that the ability to afford your own home for the young generation, it is possible as long as you change along with the times and take advantage of emerging opportunities. That's where I see that's the opportunity.
Mark, in the similar vein, if for instance, someone says, by just dipstick testing, a lot of property owners that have just received the keys over maybe say the last 2 to 3 years, most of them are not experiencing positive cash flow returns for the properties that they've invested in. And that's because it's probably the monthly installment for the repayment is higher than the rental that they can get. Would it be better for the generation that is this particular stage whereby there's economic uncertainty still in terms of we're going to come out or how we're going to come out or how long it will take for us to come out, to say instead of buying my dream home, maybe I rent my dream home because it's going to be cheaper for me to do so? Do you think generation renter for life will come about here in Malaysia?
My gut feeling is that may not necessarily be so, and here's why. Because first of all, you can say talk about rental, okay? That people want when they are working somewhere else, and they decide to rent. But uh, you see, you're talking about the economic cost here. The thing is, yes, people can rent a property, but if rental comes to the point where it's close to what you can to pay your monthly installments in order to own a property, I say that the incentive is there to be able to buy your own property. Of course, if you talk, there are other ways whereby to shift from rental to ownership as well. It's possible to rent a property and eventually lead to ownership. I've noticed that in various countries, not just in Malaysia, but also other countries, let's say the United Kingdom, they have this thing whereby it's a rent to own scheme, okay? Because properties are kind of hard to pay for right from the beginning. So from rent to own is, I think there is it gives the opportunity to move a transition whereby you may not be able to pay pay a lot for a property and therefore you rent first, but eventually when your own economic situation improves, when you get promoted, when you get a raise in your income, when all this comes into play, that's when you'll be able to buy your own property. Therefore, you can transition from rent to own. So I think that is a matter of opportunity cost here. Is there an incentive whereby to be able to shift from renting a property to owning a property? I say that there is still ownership of property is still attractive. If it is a situation where you can only rent and ownership is way too high in certain places, like maybe Hong Kong as an example, in the past, then I would say that will be the situation where you have barriers to the barrier to ownership from renting would be much higher, and therefore that could be a situation where it's hard to be able to own. So I think that it depends on the situation, the economic situation for the region as well as for our own in respect of property ownership and where it relates to renting and ownership.
Well, we've really uncovered and unpacked quite a lot of things today in our discussion, and there's so many nuances and rabbit holes that we can delve into, but we're almost out of time already. So as the last and final thought that you have, Mark, can you just give us maybe some top 4 or 5 things that one should do before one actually signs the dotted line on a booking form and an SPA? What would someone need to do to get themselves ready before they actually proceed with the booking and later on purchase of the property?
Okay, I'm going to talk about during the SPA, about what you do during the SPA, the signing of the SPA, as well as before it. Okay, if you're talking about doing the signing of the SPA, it would be, I think that it's kind of safe on a legal perspective if you are buying a primary property because it's regulated by the government, okay, based on the Housing Developers Act. So it's kind of standard whereby you have general protections available for the home buyer. But if let's say you're buying a property but it doesn't comply with the requirements of the Housing Developers Act, be on your guard, please. Okay, that is my word of caution. Okay, then you're talking about before signing on the dotted line on a property. Here's my take. I think you should do your own due diligence. Okay, like for example, maybe what do you want before you decide to buy a property? Is this a property that development that you are comfortable with? I will use residential as an example, but it could be applicable for other types of property as well. If you're talking about for residential property, it would be first, do I trust if let's say I'm buying a primary property, do I trust the developer? Do they have a good track record? That's something that is of a very important consideration to me, because you can have all the marketing activities in the world, but if they do not have a good track record, that they do not give good, that they are not attractive in respect of returns, whether it's difficult to sell the properties over in the secondary market. Um, these are considerations that I would take into play. Okay, so that's one thing. And the second thing is, can I afford to pay for this property over a long period, because it's most likely they're going to become the biggest investment in my lifetime. So how much of a commitment will it be to me? Will it be a strain to my finances in the event that something goes wrong, or even when things are all rosy, will it be a strain to me? That will be the second thing that I will consider. The thing is, I will study the market as well. I would suggest that you look that if you want to have a fair idea of the market value of properties in the area, it would be I would suggest looking at this website called Bricks, BRICKZ. Okay, and then the fourth thing is this the property that I truly want, that I'll be comfortable with for a long period of my life, the sort of thing. So I will really take into consideration whether it's close to my family, is it close to the place that I want to work, okay, over a long period of time. And this is important because it's about economic opportunities here, okay, for career perspective and financial growth as well as personal growth. Third thing will be about education, because I may want to raise a family. So it's talking about the opportunities for your own children. So you're thinking of it on a long-term perspective. Property ownership is about long term. So you need to see about how does it fit into your life in the next 5, 10, 20 years. So and it's not just about ownership, it's also for investment. If you are investing in a property, will it be a place that other people will want to stay in for a very long period of time? So treat your own investment property as if it is a place that you yourself want to stay in. This will be the kind of advice, the key factors that I will share. And finally, think about the most, if you can't, if there's something that you should take away and you miss everything else, the most important thing that you should never forget is time. Time is precious. If you invest the same amount of effort right now compared to what you do in, let's say, 10 years from now, you actually get a lot of benefits doing things now compared to 10 years later. Why? Because time gives you compounded growth, compounded interest. So whatever that you do now will benefit you more compared to putting the same effort 10 years from now. That's my thing.
Well,
Oh,
Mark,
and one last thing.
hmm,
Yes, one last thing. Also, if you like to share, if you like to have a discussion to know more things, seek more opinions, I think you can always reach out to me over at my website, makacademy.asia, MAKACADEMY.asia, because that is where I share things together with my readers, whereby it's I help other people to grow.
Well, thank you so much, Mark, for spending your time with us this morning and sharing your insights and compressing on your experience for the last 2 decades into a 30-minute session. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that there's going to be a lot more food for thought for us in terms of determining what to do next post COVID-19. In the meantime, I hope you found this session of Fireside Chat useful, beneficial, because we are here to basically help you make better financial decisions moving forward. Thank you, and join us again for our next Fireside session. And if you like what you hear, click subscribe and like on this channel. Thank you.